Uh, okay. Good evening, everybody. Nice to see you in our so-called DAX Patterns meetup session organized by Green Data Innovators Meetup Group and also Orlando Power BI User Meetup Group. And today is 14th of June, 2024. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, we are going to talk about DAX patterns in our session. And as for our speaker, today we are going to host our speaker from Latvia, Ivars Krampis-Vanags, who is Power BI expert, who is delivering speech at different events. And I hope in next minutes, Ivars will have an opportunity to introduce himself. And also, I would like to give a little bit information about our upcoming speakers that are going to happen in the second half of June, July, and also August. So we are going to host Alex Kolokolo from USA, Andrei Kaidarov from Georgia, and also Hamid Sadiq Bursaleh from the Netherlands. A little bit about meetup rules. As soon as our meetup session ends, if there is any materials and if a speaker doesn't mind, I'm going to share all these materials with the participants, restaurants. During the session and also at the end of each session, we have a Q&A session. You can ask or type your question. And recording link, this session is recording, and recording link will be subject to sharing with others. A little bit about our session schedule. The first 5 minutes that I'm doing right now, I'm making an introduction. And the next 30 minutes, our speaker is going to deliver his presentation. And the last roughly 15 minutes is for Q&A session. And also here you can see my email address, via which you can contact me if you want or desire to deliver a speech on behalf of my meetup groups. And it would be great to have email for this point from your sides. So now I would like to stop sharing my screen, and I would like to deliver speech to Ivars. Ivars, so stage is yours, and you can share your screen and go on. Welcome once again. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And thank you, Ilgar, for inviting me here. And we had a chance to cross our path a couple of times earlier. Actually, I was participating or visiting your meetups, I don't know almost how many years that was ago, actually in early days. Then we crossed paths in Power BI Summit this year, was it? Yes. And then we talked over, and Ilgar invited me to this meetup, and I'm actually happy to share my expertise, or let's say my experience rather than expertise in a more wider area of the world. So I'm really happy to be in your part of the world. So never been so far into that part. Actually, was myself in Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan a couple of times there, and in Georgia as well. So in betweens there, but not in your country. So maybe sometime, maybe in one day.
Why not? Yes.
Why not? Yeah. All right. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen, and before I start, actually, I'm gonna share the screen and start talking about that, because I'm not gonna talk too much about myself. I'm gonna end up here. It's gonna be on an end screen. I will open again my LinkedIn QR code. Just grab it. But I think you're gonna share it later anyway. So let's dive straight to the patterns thing. Actually, it was a tough thing. To prepare for, really, because it's everybody understands lots of the things about what might be exactly the pattern. So I actually consulted with some of the helps here, but I actually included some of the things that I proprietary made myself. So I hope you have not come across too much with them. And then yes, and Ilgar shared some questions that he wanted to ask me at the end. So I prepared for some of those already. So some of them I'll leave at the end. So actually there will be a chance to ask questions. All right. I will try to be very quick because there's lots of things I can share with you. So the first thing that I came across myself is filtering dates. Really, it's maybe not really a DAX thing too much, but still, it's a question is like how to filter things by not the filtering really a date like last something relative dates or dates between, but having these simultaneously possible filters that you can filter, including the current months, not like banks do, when you filter the statements. So this is something that I was struggling for a while, but then I creating a pattern on this one. I actually copied it from somewhere and improved it over the time. So I'm going to show this one. I'm going to show how to calculate averages, what I've came across myself. And that's kind of a like a well, there's a wrong title here, but basically completing the average unit prices or revenues per year for a particular manufacturer. For example, if it's a long stage of the year, so I'm going to explain this problem in detail a bit later. Then there's again really I don't know, cutting edge thing that I came across myself a longer time ago on calculating how many clients are there using your services and how many clients are using this particular service and other service or excluding the service. So it's like this Venn diagram thing that you overlap clients who use particular services. So you find out who are those who use all of your favorite services. This is adapted to the data source. So maybe some things doesn't make really sense in the namings, but we'll imagine things. So this is one thing that I'm gonna talk about. So and then these questions that Elgar was asking about ranking, I'm gonna leave at the end. So all right, here I'm gonna go for another data set, data file. So I'm gonna create some things as well. As the time is so limited, I will show much of the things that are prepared up front. So, but here, what to do if you want to filter data, which is, let's say, I'm going to show the data first as well. So data is really straightforward, sales data, so that it's really nothing special. Sales date, revenue, products, and then we have some related tables like we have a product table and manufacturer table. So basically that's coming here in yeah, what's that? Yeah, so it's easy as that, and then we have a calendar that's related by a sales date. So and then there's another inductive relationships which will not cover today really. So what to do? We could go and start filtering, let's say, creating in the calendar table something like let me just pop here. We could create something like a columns named like, is this a particular period? Is this year? Is this last year? Or something like that. But it will not give us an opportunity to filter by each particular column that's here. So I came across this handy formula that I'm gonna now put in here as a new table. Let's say, let's create a new table. So modeling, new table in here, and I'm going to create a set of dates that fall into a period that I intend to have. So for example, if you have a table, let's say I have a periods table, calendar periods. I'm going to copy afterwards. So the full formula, I'm just going to start by creating in hands and here. So for example, if we have something like that, so dates between, for example, like this, then a calendar, which is a date, what we need to have, and start date, for example, we have today, and let's say we have end date would be a today plus, let's say 7 days. Then we'll have a table. That consists of those dates, just like that. So what we can do what we need to do is somehow attach an information to that. Sorry, attach an information to this these dates, that this belongs to some specific period. So I'm going to use another formula, adding it here. So on top of that, add columns. So what we're going to do, I'm going to just add another column to this expression here, so that this is, let's say, next, it's going to be type, for example, or period, and I'm going to call it next 7 days. And that's it, really. So we're going to add a name to this period. So if we want to add another period on top of that, for example, a past 7 days, so then we go for another function here. We add these multiple expressions of those created tables, like this one. We need to have another one. So let's say like this. And we add, let's say, today -7 days. But this doesn't work as such, so we need to combine those ones. And I'm going to add here a union function. So union function comes in, we're going to take these ones here, and here is the past 7 days. So past 7 days, whatever. Don't judge me by having these dates. So let me see why it's not changing it here. So add columns, union. What did I miss here? So I'm gonna check myself now. So calendar day today. We need to go that other way around. So -7 days here, and today is so start date, end date. So that's what happens on the fly. So now we have 2 periods here. So next 7 days and past 7 days, and so on. We can create multiple periods on multiple periods what we want. So like this month, last 3 months, last 14 weeks, next 14 weeks, whatever is that. And we have a filterable table. So I'm gonna just now pop to my other model and copy that formula that actually Vilgar said will be able to share that with you. So basically this is the same thing. I have added a couple of more things like this. So I have it in English, I have it in my Latvian language, and I add another column which is called sort index. So whatever we want to put these in a filter, so they don't sort alphabetically, but we can set, okay, weekly measures or weekly filters and daily filters, monthly filters. We can set this order ourselves. So you can see here, there's lots of them I've created. So it's like current months, last 30 days, starting last month, so including this month, and lots of other last 12 months. So you name it, you create like hundreds of them, and I'm going to show what to do with them. So let's copy those. Control A, Control C, and I'm going to pop back to my current model and replace this here and enter it here. So now I have a complete set of dates what I have wanted to put. So put in here. There's lots of categories here. You can add more yourself as well. Now we need to somehow put it into action. We need to somehow be able to put it in a filter. So let's go here and go and choose that period and put into the field here. So now they are here, and they're sorted. I don't know if they are sorted or not. Let's try and see. Sort column by sort index. So now they're sorted. So today, yesterday, since yesterday, last 7 days. So day parts is here. Then the week things, then the month things, then the year things. So we sorted those ones. So when I start filtering like this, nothing really happens because there are no relationships. So we need to go back to our model part and see what we can do. So let me just find my new table here. So let's see. Yeah, there's a test measures thing, then a calendar periods. Let's come on here. So what we need to do, so as we don't have an interaction here, I can't ask you a question here, but what I usually ask my students to do is like, what kind of relationship we need to make here. So if we want, if you know, and you know probably that this relationship is the thing that lets one table to filter another table. So one table, calendar table, filters sales data. So we need to find out the way how this calendar period tables can filter the calendar and then filter sales data. So if we go and just add the relationship between those two, then we'll have a one-to-many relationship, which goes the wrong way in a sense for us now here, because we want calendar periods to be able to filter calendar, not the other way around. So nothing really happens here yet. So this is probably one of the rare occasions when we can use the both, I'll say cross-filter direction here. So bidirectional filter, sorry for my language here. So as this is the end part, there's no ambiguous relationships here, ambiguity in the model, so we can actually use it here and be safe with that. So now that's done. That's really done. So first pattern has been done. So whenever we have a filter now here, we see what happens with data. So it's let's say starting last year, future dates. We have a dates in future for some reason. It's actually a made up model, so therefore it has. So current months and last 6 weeks. So I think that's done now here. So you can grab afterwards this pattern here that you can use yourselves, adapt to your needs. And that's really, I think it's really easy to adapt and really easy to understand as well. All right, let's go to next one. Calculate averages. And Ilgar, just remind me when I have time coming through due, because I like to talk a lot. So
we have time. Don't worry, we have time. So you go, please. Okay, thank you.
Okay, good. All right, so here. So I'm in a live data set here. Yes. So what's about this part here? Most of the measures are here in a place already, but I'm going to create some of those on a separate thing so that we work on this a bit through this, and then explain how the other measures work. So, for example, if we want to take an average unit price, like or say average something, let's say, and we start with average unit price. That would be a really simple measure of taking average unit price. But for anybody who works with data, you understand that really this one, okay, is calculating basically all the sales there. So I'm not taking like a transaction. Okay, we can start with transaction value. Yeah, so average transaction value. It's just taking average of all the rows. Average of all the rows. So it's not giving any aggregation, no nothing here. With average unit price, we start having some aggregation. So we calculate the total sum of revenue and then sum of units. So we divide total number of revenue with total number of units, we get the average unit price. And that's all across the model, across the periods, and that's already much better one. But when we want to come to a measure that says what's the average annual revenue for a brand or something like this, for example, here, we have an average value of revenue for Ivars producer of 832. So if I come here and click on Ivars manufacturer, I will see that a total here at the bottom, which is an average for the year, is 832. What is this number? This number is the average of all those large totals for each year. So what we need to do in order to calculate the average for an annual turnover is we need to pre-calculate some table of data that will have an aggregated data for each of the year. So this is what we need to achieve here. So how to do that? I'm going to show it step by step here. I'm going to create the table again table. So it's a standalone table. And the table formula will be like this. I'm going to tag it with a letter T so that it's at the bottom here. And average, grouped data, let's say. And we have a couple of opportunities, a couple of options what to do. So the most basic one that I like really is to use summarize function. We can go for this one just comes in my way here. So I'm going to summarize my sales data table. Again, I'm going to click out. By what? So I need to come and add some grouping parameter. And this one of the grouping parameters here will be a year for me, which is in the calendar. So I'm going to go for calendar year. In this particular example, I have created the column called year. You probably can go by date and dot year. I never used these ones, but sometimes maybe. So actually we can have like this set of, so we can have this calendar year here. And now we can add calculation on these ones. Okay, actually, let's just close the parenthesis and see what happens here. So that would be the first thing. So let's go and see what happens here. So grouped data. Sorry, again. Yeah, now we have created a table that has just the year numbers. If I come here and add another thing here, so I'm going to add a column called revenue, and I'm going to name it grouped revenue so that we know that this is a created field here, and add measure, let's say, sum of revenue, sum of sales data revenue. This is going to be my calculation here. So let's see what happens. And it adds here a revenue that is grouped by year. So, and whenever I take an average of this, then it's an each value that's going to be taken into an average, and an average will be calculated of these, 17 numbers. So let's see how that works here. So for example, if I take a new measure, I'm going to have, this is a special box made for test measures. And I'm going to add here average revenue per year, and that's going to be from static table. So from static table, this what I created now. So average of that newly created table and revenue grouped, let's say like this. So this is the one. And let's add it here. So let's add it here as a new column. And let's see. And it's not working. Yes. Why? Why is it not working? What do you think? What do you think? It's because of the relationships. Okay, we can't put it like this in here. So, right. But it's, let's say, see, this is calculating really static, all the revenue, all the calculations. Okay, I don't know actually if I can put here a relationship somehow, but basically this is a static thing that will never actually work with any filters. So this is no good for me now here. So yeah, I'm a bit confused actually. I hear in a test model created a static one as well. So I'm gonna share that later. So, all right, but we can use this this type of a measure. So let me see what we created as a table. We can use that inside a measure, and then it works much better for us. So if we use this as a pre-calculated variable inside a measure, then this can help us calculate the average of the number. So let me see. Let's take this data here from here as a copy and come here as a new measure. New measure, average by year, I don't know, test measure, let's say, because I have something here, so as well. So let's see like this. And I'm going to create a variable, which is going to be called, let's say, grouped data, which is a table. So which is a table? So this is a table, as you saw earlier on. So this summarization will return a table. So what to do with this table now? We need to somehow calculate that average. So I'm going to go return data. return result. And so if in order to calculate anything over this pre-calculated table, we need to use an iteration function. And here average x function will come handy here. So I'm going to take this again off. So which table to use? It's going to be this grouped data table. And expression, what we need to use is this newly created column called revenue grouped, which is that exists now within this particular calculation. So let's see how that works. So revenue grouped, there's a new field. And in order to show and prove that this is really so, we can put here A, B, C, D, and see that this now doesn't work, but then this one is here. So basically, this is just created inside this measure. So this is really cool. This is really cool. So let's see. Most of you probably knew that before. So, but anyway, let's see how this works now in that scenario. So let's see. Yep, let's put it in here. And I think we'll be good here. Yes, we are good. We are good. So this number now really shows the average. Let's format it to whole number so that it takes less space than it takes now. Let's format the column slightly so it fits into the visual. So now this number is showing the same thing essentially. So you really don't need to have an average by year, this group thing here, if you can have a normal amount here. So apart from this total number shows the different number, all right? But otherwise this is the thing. So what happens? What happens if we start filtering? This number filters along, this number filters along, everything happens here. And let's see if we change it here and add my newly created number as well here. What happens? Is it showing the same number? I hope so. I hope so. Oops. Yeah. I would would be excited that you can share their feedback, but as you're not on Zoom or you're on YouTube, you can't. So sorry. So this one now gives me an ability to filter by filter context, to apply a filter context. So Germany rural, and this now gives me a filter table of all years by each manufacturer and having each year as a number and deriving the average. So within Abbas manufacturer, average annual turnover for Germany and rural category is 836. This is what essentially comes out here. So let me just browse over these couple of functions, what we have. So the transaction value average I showed a minute earlier. Unit price is as simple as that. So average annual turnover dynamic, there are two versions of that. We can use summarize function as I did now, and as well group by function, which is sometimes suggested over the summarize function. It's a slightly trickier syntax here. So you can't use just sum of sales revenue. It's summing sum X over current group and then this one. So don't ask why for me now here. I can't explain this one, but this is the way this is done. So really, that's nothing else on here. All right, let's move to this third one, which I hope you like as well. And this is customer overlapping. Customer overlapping. So what about it? What about it? So what we have is we have clients count, which is really easy one thing. So clients count is distinct count of client ID in the table. So we have unique number of clients, which is actually distinct count is a funny thing. It works in funny ways sometimes because you actually need to work with all of the data set or within at least a filtered period. So when we have something like this, then distinct over the whole period is like 31, but each individual year is completely different. If we filter a period of time, we'll see different numbers. So see over 2 years or something, let's say go like this, we'll have 13,000 clients, 12,000 clients, but altogether we have 70,000 different clients. So this is interesting how that works. But what to do if we want to find not just the clients, how many we have, different clients, but in a particular client, or say in a group who used specific service. So I'm going to imagine that the service here is the product category. So let's pretend this is not the, let's say, product, but it's a client here. So clients in count for that. So what we need to do, we need to filter somehow all of the sales data out for this particular category, and then count the distinct values of that. So it's a bit extra thing. So how to do that? So one thing to start with is, let's say I'm going to create again another a new table here. So let me just try, and let's say I hope it works on the fly here, because I have this freeze of memory at some point. So let's see, table of clients. Let's say clients. So what function to use here? And this one function that first comes into mind when we want to create a table with specific filters, actually two functions, either it's a filter function or it's a calculate table function. Let's use the calculate table function in this instance here. And we're going to filter clients. So we could go and filter sales data table as all of it, but actually we don't need to do that. We don't need to have all the columns returned. We need only client ID. So we're gonna go for a function called values of client ID. So basically that's gonna return us a unique list of clients here, a unique list of client IDs. And yeah, actually we can go and try to finish it. I hope it does work without filters. Yes, let's go so and see what comes out here. Clients. So we have client IDs, whatever they mean, doesn't really matter. So 31,000 unique client. And if we come back to the table, we have this 31,881, exactly the same number. So, but I'm going to add a filter to this. And the filter will be that category in a products category is going to be, let's say, mix. And now I'm having only a list of clients who are present with sales with that particular category. And this is giving me some really unique information here. So what we need to do, we need to now calculate distinct values of that. So actually, as we have a distinct values already, what we need to do is we need to just count rows of that table. So if we go and count the rows of the static table, we know that we'll not get filter context later on, filter by context. So therefore, we're going to take this function here or formula and place it in a measure. Again, new measure. Let's create a measure, clients for mix category, mix products. Looks like client for mix, it's going to be an abbreviation here. So again, we can go and create a variable here. And let's say it's mix here. And I'm going to paste here my newly created function formula here. And I'm going to return a result of count rows over that table. That's really it. So I'm going to return result over that newly calculated table. So this is yet not the end here. So this one gives the result of how many clients there were for mixed category. Let's see and compare that here. So let's compare it here for clients with mix and see if that's the same number. It appears so that this is the same number. So what to do if we want to have a client list in other category and say how many clients used both of those services. So let's adapt this formula. So let's go and copy this one here. Let's go and create a new measure. So I'm gonna stick with a slightly more compact calculation, let's say writing here, so that we can actually fit everything so that everything is visible. So let's create slightly smaller screen. I hope you're not watching that on phone, so that you can actually follow the screen. So this is going to be slightly condensed here. And I'm going to create another, let's say, table or calculation of the table with another category. Let's say, if you have many categories, many client types, then obviously this comes into question whether this is the best way to do. Let's say, but I haven't thought about this too much, so therefore I can't answer you now what to do when you want to have it dynamic. So, but anyway, I think this might work on most of the cases. So I think there was a category called rural. Yes, let's say so. So now if we have that one, so if we click here, yeah, we need to have another name, mix and rural. So let's just try to add it here somewhere and see whether it's obviously not changed. So it's not changed. It's the same number because we didn't change the result part. I didn't change the result part. So we need to figure out what to do now here. So imagine you have two tables. One consists of 10,000 unique items, another table that consists of whatever number, imagine maybe again 10,000 different items. And we need to now, let's say, match those ones, who or which items match and which don't match. So we need to keep only the ones that match. So and there's actually a magical function here in Power BI that we can use. And I'm going to say both, let's say. So, and there's a function called intersect. So wherever these tables overlap or intersect, these items will be kept. So this is the thing. So I'm going to say mix one with rural, these both tables. And now I'm going to change this one to both, so that we can count rows of this newly created table. So let's go and see what changes now in the numbers. So when I press enter, there's a slight calculation happening here, and we see that number changed slightly. So basically, it appears so that those clients mostly used both of those products. So we can try and find another product which was a bit different and then see. But basically, we see the number changed. Number slightly changed. So intersect means that we found how many of those clients used both of those services or both of those products. So the opposite side of it is we could try to find how many clients there were who didn't, let's say, who didn't use the other service. For example, the ones that used the mixed one and didn't use the rural. So we want to exclude that. So we want to see that who used only the mixed one, not the both of them together. So that's more tricky, is it, or not? So let's try one more, and then I'm going to show the final result, what I have pre-calculated, so that we don't play around here too much. So let's see and name it clients for only mix category. So let's say like this, only mix category, or let's say mix excluding excluding rural. So we basically, again, need both of those calculations. That's fine. That's fine. But we're going to use another function here, which is called except. Except, or so taking out something. So left table, right table. So left one will be this mixed one. Right will be rural. So we're going to apply these rural clients on the mix, and only the ones that are not in the rural table will be left, will be kept here from the mix one. So let's see what happens here, and add it here as a new one here. So let's try and see. So we now see that there are 54 clients that only used mix category. So it's slightly still, it's not an addable number anyway, because there are probably some clients that used only rural category as well, just that without a mix one. So therefore that should be added again. So it's like 573 plus 54 is like 7 plus 4 6 27 is actually the same number. So it's actually gets to the number. So let me just double check whether I'm on the fly calculating correctly. So whether I'm not mistaken. So 573 plus 54 actually comes to that number. So maybe on here. Actually, on the total, we see it's not correct. It's not total the same number. So 5 and 5, actually, it might become the same number. All right, doesn't really matter here. So it might be that that we are on a very popular category here. So all right, let me just browse over the measures that I created before. So average, not an average clients. So client, see, again, the same thing. Let me see whether I created different something. No, we calculated the table values here. Rural, yes. Clients count, that was the easy one. Clients in either, yes, there's another one. So if we want to see if we want to say or, if they use the same one service or the other one. So we actually combine those tables together as a union, and then derive the distinct values again from that, or values. So whatever you need there. So again, and then there's a calculation of count rows. This is really easy. So clients in mix, so it's an intersection, mix rural only. Yeah, we actually have more here. So basically this except one will be more pedantic. So there's an intersection of those two and the except of the other ones. So basically who used only these two services and no other service. So it gets harder, gets more complicated, but possible. And then the other one which I didn't show here is the revenue part for that. And revenues is slightly interesting, because we need to find, again, the same thing. There's a table here on the same calculation that comes out. What we need to do is we need to have an iteration function of sum x over the table and add the total revenue. In a large data sets, it's definitely not fast. It might slow you down, and if you have many of those calculations one page as I have for one client, and that's actually slow. So it's getting slow. So maybe there's some other method that you can find and tell me later. That I will be very thankful for that. Okay, I think I've covered this one. Ilgar, what we have is with the time, or do you want to cover these rankings and open orders type of a thing, or or we go with the questions, or I'm covering these ones now here?
Okay, I hope we can go on with our 5 questions. If we have roughly 17 minutes, so would be better to go with questions.
Okay. So do you want to shout these out, or should I find myself the...
Sorry, actually, I have reached this question in the Zoom chat, or I can go on with reading. equation.
Oh, okay. All right. I have that.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, didn't see that. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna go in a different order probably, but let's say the first question from Ilgar is about explaining the concept of cumulative total. But I don't have it here as an explanation, but I can actually do some explanation here as well. So cumulative totals. What I usually mean is that you want to calculate something like year to date or months to date or quarter to date, or sometimes it's not year to date. You need to calculate since the beginning or with some period of time. So basically, what you need to do with cumulative totals is either if it's a basic scenario, then you use a simple use a built-in function like year to date or dates year to date or year to date totals and things like that, or you need to build those ones up. I think I can actually show you this one thing. I think I have this one in time intelligence part. So with open orders, actually I will come to that one here. Basically, what's that the thing here? Actually, I will create a new measure. So let's say new measure total revenue year to date is let's say there's a total let's say total year to date function, or you use an expression which is the regular expression that you usually use for sum, let's say sum of revenue, or it's already a measure. You can use either, and then what you need to do is you add a dates here. So dates come from calendar. The only thing here you need to be aware of is that the dates in all of those cumulative dates functions and formulas, you have to have a calendar that has an explicitly coherent date. So starting from 1st of January to 31st of December for all the dates you are looking. So basically it needs to have a full set of dates. So this is one way to calculate that one. And let's see, the calendar in the calendar function, I actually have a calendar that's created with the simplest possible method with calendar auto. You can have calendar dates between or calendar with the dates set, or import the calendar. Actually did myself training for my students with 2 sessions about how to create calendars and how to work with calendars. So there's lots of things to take in mind there, but lots of tips that you can take in here. But with revenue year to date, for example, there's a fun part. So what we did is total year to date is one way to go, but we can go another way. So let's let's try actually showing it as well in a table. Let's try and change it to duplicate, and I'm gonna take this one out here, and I'm gonna create this one as a larger one, and here I'm gonna switch to table view, and I'm gonna create revenue year to date. But we need to probably go for not a year, but we're gonna go for that, and we're gonna go for date thing. So date, and I'm gonna create something like this. So without dates yet. So let's see what happens here is that this revenue just keeps growing from month to month. This is what happens with the date, but and resets at the next year. But the fun part here, just quick one thing is if we create a similar measure, total year to date revenue was it this actually renamed different, but okay, that's fine. We can go for calculate function as well with sum of revenue, the same thing what we did, but then we use another calendar function which is called dates year to date. So, and again, calendar. So it's whatever suits you best or are you comfortable with, you actually can go with that. I don't think there's a difference with these numbers. There's nothing like that. And then the same thing, if you want to go for a last year thing, you can go either with one or the other one. For example, we can go like the same thing. Total year to date last year is either calculate, calculate, and we take now in this year-to-date measure that we had total year-to-date revenue and have the same period last year of the calendar, or we go the same thing, same way. We add here last year revenue, which is calculated with same period as last year, and then add the dates year to date. So something like, it's just potato. So you can do both ways. So it's really easy here. All right, I think we can stop on that. Otherwise, it's going to go for time. In ranking things, let's say, what is the purpose of ranking? And as ranking is a fun. I actually use it not so often, but really it's a way to identify top and bottom performers, or actually the change. I don't really need always to know who's the best performer on the second best performer. You usually want to see how they have changed over time, or like how they changed the position. So for example, last year they were first and this year they're second. So this is more interesting for me. So on what I did here for a sample here, and ranking, I know some lecturers have done extensive work on rankings, and there are probably very many tips and tricks on that. But the simplest, at its simplest, it really works like that. So let's go and open that one. The normal ranking function is really easy. So we take, for example, this is the rank for revenue over the manufacturers. So manufacturers ranking of total revenue. So basically we use the rank X function with this total revenue as a measure, or sum of revenue, over all manufacturers, because we need to set the context out if we are within one manufacturer. And then either it's ascending or descending, and then there's a parameter skip or dense. I actually can't explain now on the fly here. We need to look at that more detail. So this is the basic thing. It calculates the place in a data set, and the other one is the same thing really, but using the last year as a revenue. So what? And then we start comparing. And the fun part really was to start and find out how to let's say manage the things that where somebody is not there present this year or not. So and therefore I created something like that. Like I counted how many manufacturers there are, how many are with the blank revenue. Then we say, okay, what's the blank values rank? And I put it in if the blank is in a revenue, then I take a blank revenue is a rank. I actually don't know if it's the best way to overcome the situation, because there's another drawbacks there, but probably you will need to find your own way of finding the problem, solving the problems if there are such. But really, this looks on an interesting page. Then you can see how that changes here over the time, and that's it. So okay. Time intelligence. There's regarding time intelligence patterns. How can you calculate year-to-date values? Actually, we had that now. Rolling averages, compare amounts over different time periods using DAX. Yeah, actually, it somehow gets to the same thing here. But basically, let's add one thing here to this year-to-date thing. Let's say we can add something that calculates the cumulative total since the first day, for example. So since the first date of happening of the data. So if we go like that and create a new measure, for example, total cumulative, then what do we need to do here really is we need to, think about the context, what's happening in the data. And whenever we place some number in particular row here, when it places itself in that row, it takes the date from that context, what's in here. So for example, in this line of the January, it's going to be 31st of January of 2009. It's going to be the largest date, and the smallest date will be 1st of January. So what we need to get is get rid of that context, the first, and then apply a new context. So what I'm going to go and do is I'm going to set now base parameters. So I'm going to go for setting the max date as a max date from calendar. So what that gives me is that whenever this date, this row is approached, then it will actually know that this is the 31st of January. That's the max date. So that's really about that. So I'm going to go now for returning the result. And I'm going to say calculate for me sum of revenue, where we remove the filter from calendar and apply filter to dates. So we're going to filter again. Actually, so we're going to put it in the same clause. It's going to be filter all calendar. So we're going to remove filter from the calendar and apply it to dates. That date should be less or equal to this max date. So, and that's about it, I hope. So I'm going to closing parenthesis. So calculation will happen over the revenue, filtering all calendar. So removing filter from calendar and applying a filter that's on the max date. So that's it. So we take that and let's see what total cumulative looks like. So it looks like really good, really good. Well, let's see. Yeah, it's over the years accumulating. So really, that's about it here. So if you want to take a rolling average, instead of trying to make some, what was that? Quick measures. Instead of that, you can say, okay, the minimum, let's say we can find another min date or say start date, whatever you call it. Let's say start date would be something that's, let's say, I don't know, how many days back. So, or which is, I don't know, whatever, whatever that is. What function to use now? I'm just max date, min date. Okay, let's go for a specific date, for example, date called, let's say 2010, for example, and 1 and 1. I just completely burned out my mind now and giving you a really not valuable example. So, but let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Calendar date it should be larger or equal to this start date. So, for example, is this. So whenever we see this, so actually we will see that this measure now calculates something starting from the 1st of January of 2010 and now accumulates here. So the only challenge then is how to get and how to calculate the date that you really wanna have here. So I think what we have, was it a date add? Was it something like that? Date add, dates, number of intervals, calendar. I think it's actually not gonna work over here because it's not gonna have, but let's try calendar date, number of intervals. No, it's not going to work like this. So let's leave it for another time because I'm probably going to confuse yourselves and myself here too much. So on the fly. So didn't think of that example. All right. Events in progress. How does events in progress pattern help analyze ongoing events or process? Actually, it's a really interesting topic, and I've done it a lot of times. Basically, it's events of progress is a fancy word for something like that. We want to see how many orders are open at this particular period of time, or how many unpaid invoices there are, or how many clients we had a particular time in past. And what we want to see is how that number change over time. And here, for example, we see that open orders over the time of the year, or say time of the scale time over the time, makes something like this. So for example, in 2011, we see that the end of the 2011, there are 175 open orders. And how those are calculated? Let me just come back to a data set first to show you. So what we see here is the sales date is a particular date here. So this is just straightforward. But then we have an order date and we have a settlement date for the same transaction. So sometimes, okay, order is definitely before the sales date, but settlement date might be either before sales date or after sales date. So it's there. So, but basically, open order is starting the thing, and then the settlement. And this particular example I calculate so that the settlement ends the thing. But actually, when I announced it here, I understand that we need to compare those two dates. But anyway, so we have two dates that we want to compare between. So anything that on 2011, December 31, that anything that's before in orders, from orders are open before, but the settlement date is after that date. So we need to find the difference of those. And that's really, again, easy. Sometimes it's maybe not that easy to think of the first hand. And but really it's not that complicated again. So if we again set this baseline of the date we want to work with, this is our mark date. And then we come to here. So count rows, filter, sales data, and sales data order date is less than this maximum date. Actually, we can come and change it to max date as well here. So that's a playing around. And then we have another clause that the settlement date is larger than this max date. So definitely the payment has happened after that. In this particular example, I need to use this calculate with user relationship because I have this relationship set between sales date and the date. So I wanted to set now this other relationship so that this order date is the one that works through. So order date I actually can't show, it's somehow not fitting here. But anyway, you understand what I mean. So there's the sales data, settlement date. I think this other one should be the order date. So therefore, I switched this relationship so that works better for me in this particular instance. So and that's really it. So you set top and bottom rules. For my case here is two different dates, but it might be that it's the same column. So you see the contract dates or something like that is different. So and then we do it. And for money wise, it's the similar thing, but instead of counting rows, we need to sumx or iterate over the table and calculate the revenue. So basically the same thing. So that's really it, I think. And the last,
thank you. Yes.
Last question you had about in context of patterns, DAX patterns. What are the key differences between Power BI, Power Pivot for Excel, and analysis services? I'd say I think in general terms, let's say in terms of calculation and creating formulas, I think there should not be really much differences. The only thing is the interface. The interface is different. This is one thing, but in general, testing out things might be harder because in Excel you can't create calculated tables. You can't create that one. So testing out. The other thing in patterns here as well, if I created now this calendar periods, you can't create a bidirectional relationship in Excel, if I guess right. So I think it's just one direction relationship always. So this one should not work in this way. I haven't tried actually myself in Excel, this one. So if I remember right now that this one will not work. So calculated tables and this one will not work. So we need to think about something else. Then what else? The scalability of the model. That's definitely. So Power BI would be in the middle of there. Then Excel probably would be a bit smaller. Obviously, you can handle lots of rows, but the usability is more local. And Power BI is you can share the data. But with analysis services, definitely you can handle larger data sets. So yeah, we come with this one client of customer overlapping. There, I think it's about 700 million rows that we need to work with, and basically we actually no, in that aggregated data we have less than that. But basically we are close to limits there. This distinct thing doesn't really work well anymore there. So it's just too much for Power BI. So it needs to switch to another solution. Yeah, I think the scalability and largeness of the model really is the difference, what we need to consider in most of the things. So I think that's really it for me. Actually, I can share and remain on the screen my bio thing here, so that you can grab my contacts in LinkedIn and come there. Ilgar, you said about sharing the file. I will share this file with you. So as a download link. So I'm going to save it, fix some minor things that I noticed now during the presentation and send it to you. All right.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ivars. I know we have already completed. If you don't mind, the last and least, the last question, just a few words. Nurgen is asking over YouTube that if there is a difference between running total and cumulative totals. What's your opinion about this?
Running total and cumulative total.
Yes.
Let's say, as I'm not a native speaker of English, it seems very similar to that. But let's say if I start to think what people might mean about that, let's say it more is like this rolling, so that we look at a certain period back, so that we have this minimum thing and the maximum thing of the date. So it's like the last 12 months, for example, over the period, or or we take it from the start. So running and cumulative, I think, is the same thing, but depends on what you mean by that yourself.
If you don't mind, I would like to talk about my opinion about this question. In my opinion, actually it's the same, but there is a slight difference. Okay. The difference is that cumulative totals are done based on total data sets. For example, if you have a calendar data set, I mean, from one day to one, cumulative totals are done overall, based on overall data sets. But running total in some cases helps you. For example, if you need, say, 8-day back totals, in these cases, running total is helpful. So if you are in need of a specific period of time calculations totals, for example, 5 days, while you are doing filtering after making cumulative totals, so you will not be able to get totals, for example, for 8 days. Because filters are done.
Exactly. Yeah. I agree completely to you. It's a terminology thing, really, rather. So, but basically, yes, cumulative. Once you have a cumulative for a period that overpasses the past, that you, let's say, very far away, then you can't have any more easily this last period of data. But then there's another term in what they in databases used is this like in banks use the closing balance. So basically after each transaction you write as well what's the closing balance. so that then you don't need to run over all the data in the past to calculate the current balance. So if you don't add anything in between, then this solves completely all of this massive calculation. You just really grab this last number, and that's really it. So that solves the performance issues. But on calculation wise, it's not really easy to manage that afterwards. In DAX.
So thank you very much, Ivars. I know you are also a Russian speaker. You speak Russian well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So if anyone wants to get help or would like to take some course, if I'm not mistaken, in Russian, so you can help from this point of view.
Yes, definitely. I can speak fluently Russian. Obviously, it's the latest years we don't need to speak so much in Russian anymore. But as business is closed more. But anyway, we speak Russian a lot and can help. So if it's the best language for you to communicate, definitely don't hesitate. And as well, if anybody of the watchers come to Riga and want to have chat, definitely pop into LinkedIn and write a message. Definitely, I will be here. Actually, I used this myself. I was going last year to DAX training in Copenhagen. I popped the message to LinkedIn, and some people responded, and we met for dinner and talked over by Power BI. So definitely, if anybody comes here, definitely come and speak.
That's great. Always great to meet people in person while you are attending some events in other countries. This is what I also do. So once again, thank you very much, Ivars. Really, it was very useful, and I will look forward to getting the necessary replies from your side. So
thank you.
Thank you once again for sharing your experience and your knowledge. Highly appreciate it.